Hello everybody, it's so nice to see you again. And if you've never seen me before, it's wonderful to meet you. Today I'll be doing something a little bit different than what I usually get up to. I'm going to try to follow a couple of recipes that were personal favorites of famous vintage Hollywood stars, and in the end, rating them. Back in the 1930s and 40s, the golden age of cinema, the public went crazy about any kind of information they could get on their favorite film stars. What they wore, where they went, and even what they ate. So naturally, it was common for movie fan magazines to publish recipes that allegedly were used or even created by the movie elite. Now, I can't tell you for sure whether these old Hollywood stars actually made these recipes or if it was just made up by the magazines. But nevertheless, I'm so curious to see how these dishes turn out. Oh, before we step into the kitchen, let me first tell you that when it comes to cooking, I am strictly an amateur. With that in mind, let's get going. It's time to put my apron on and get started with recipe number 1. The first recipe I'm trying, vegetable salad, was printed in the late 1930s and belongs to legendary musical star Judy Garland. I begin by chopping up the ingredients. We have tomatoes, carrots, celery, lettuce and watercress. The recipe also called for olives, but I didn't use them for 2 reasons. The first being that we didn't have any, and also because I despise them, so having the taste of olives in this salad would have ruined it for me. Another ingredient is an endive. However, the closest thing the grocery store had was this mixed leaf salad, so I have to try my best to pick out the pieces I think are close enough. Last we have some cold cooked peas, not something I'd normally use in a salad. But the salad's all done, so now it's on to making the dressing. I'm supposed to mix it using a bottle, but I can't seem to find one. This jug will have to do instead. We start with olive oil, vinegar, salt, plenty of paprika, garlic, and sugar. Judy advises to shake the mixture well. Let it set, then shake it again. Do this 3 times so the flavor gets all over evenly. I can tell I'm in for a lot of shaking. All done. Now I've got to pour it over the salad. Judy very specifically mentions that it's incredibly important the dressing is mixed in using one's fingers. She states that it makes a big difference because when you use a wooden fork and spoon for mixing, you just can't feel where the dressing misses touching some of the salad, and that is very important. Well, she makes a good point, but let me tell you this much. It's very, very oily. But here it is, all finished. Judy Garland's vegetable salad. Success! It's very nice. I must say it's different from any salad I've ever tried. I think it's the peas. Very interesting. A solid 7 out of 10. I've also asked my brother Vince to give his score on the salad. Next up is the recipe that inspired this video, Katharine Hepburn's famous brownies. I have made a variation of these brownies in the past and very much liked how they turned out. Today I'll be following the recipe properly and hopefully the results will be just as good. First I melt half a cup of butter in a saucepan, alongside half a cup of cocoa powder. Then I turn off the stove, add 1 cup of sugar, 2 eggs and 1 teaspoon vanilla. Then I stir in a quarter of a cup of flour and some salt. Now it's time to chop the walnuts. Finally, it's time to mix the nuts in with the batter. One thing I really love about this recipe is how you can use just one saucepan for all the ingredients. It's very convenient. And now into the oven. Although the recipe says to bake for 40 minutes, mine are done in 20. Now they've got to cool down and then I can try them. I think they're absolutely perfect. Crunchy on the outside and soft on the inside. They're my absolute favorite go-to brownie recipe. 9 out of 10. The only flaw is that there's not enough. But what does Vince think? It's the next day. Today's first recipe comes courtesy of a 1932 Photoplay magazine article, Waffles à la Frances D. The article states that her waffle breakfasts are the envy of the town. First, I sift the flour, baking powder and salt together. Then I melt 2 tablespoons of butter in a pan and add it to the flour mixture. Now I've got to separate the eggs. Apparently, the beaten whites of the eggs are what makes France's waffles so successful. I add the yolks first, along with 2 cups of milk. Next up, the very important egg whites. Francis advises to fold them gently into the batter. Too much stirring will make the waffles less fluffy. And here we are. Now all we have to do is wait. They seem to be doing well so far. Another minute and they're done. These waffles are fantastic. They're quite plain, so they would be able to suit both sweet and savory toppings. A solid waffle recipe. I give them an 8 out of 10. Lastly, we have something I'm very excited about. An angel food cake recipe by none other than my favorite actress, Rita Hayworth. This recipe is incredibly specific. Sift flour, measure and sift again 4 times with half the sugar. I can tell I'll be here for a long time. And we're done. Finally! This cake better turn out amazing. I'd hate to think I did all that for nothing. Next up, I'm supposed to beat 1.5 cups of egg whites until foamy. I cheated a little bit because I only used 1. At this point, I had run out of ideas on what to do about all the yolks. Next up, sprinkle salt and cream of tartar over the surface and continue beating. Add remaining sugar 1 tablespoon at a time, folding with large spoon after each addition. As you can imagine, it's quite a long, tedious task. But don't worry, I won't make you watch it all in real time. When that's done, I add the vanilla. The next step is another long and boring one. Add flour mixture 2 tablespoons at a time, folding after each addition to prevent breaking down egg whites. Finally, after probably 30 years or so, the batter is ready to go into the cake tin. The recipe says to bake it in an ungreased tin, but after all that effort I just put into making the cake, there's no way I'm risking it getting stuck. Now it's time to wait. Fingers crossed. After some time, the cake is finished. But what does it look like? I am terrified and frankly concerned. This is not at all what I expected this cake to look like. Nevertheless, I'll sprinkle some icing sugar onto it and give it a try. Dare I say it? I misjudged the cake. Despite its questionable exterior, it's absolutely delicious. Sweet with an interesting chewy texture. Sort of reminds me of a donut actually. 8 out of 10. Thank you, Rita. And that's it. Thank you so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed the video. But even if you didn't, I'll be back next week with another one. Goodbye for now.